Now on private and local order of the day, number 1.
Manukau City Council Regulation of Prostitution in Specified Places Bill, first reading.
Mr Speaker.
The Honourable George Hawkins.
Mr Speaker, I move that the Manukau City Regulation of Prostitutes in Specified Places Bill now be read a first time. At the appropriate time, I intend to move that the bill be considered by the Local Government and Environment Select Committee. Mr Speaker, before delving into this bill, I too want to pass on to the people of Canterbury the sympathy that I think everyone here has for what happened to them. And I think that when you have been Minister of Civil Defence, you know the problems going on. And so can I say to John Carter that many people do appreciate the work he is doing. Now, I want to say that this bill is on behalf of the Manukau City Council, and it will allow the council to make bylaws. The bill allows the council to make bylaws designating any place, a specified place, and 2, requires the bylaw to be made and reviewed in a manner similar to that of a bylaw made under the Local Government Act 2002 and prohibits the conduct of business of prostitution, the supply or receipt of any commercial sexual service in a specified place, and provides the police with powers to arrest a person committing an offence under this Act. Now, this goes way back. The whole question goes back to the Prostitution Reform Act 2003, a bill that was passed by one vote, one solitary vote. So, and since then, Manukau also has been back to this House trying to get legislation to help them overcome a difficulty they have. In my electorate, Manurewa, in Ross Robinson's electorate, Manukau East, we have been plagued by street prostitution for a number of years. And of course, it has a huge impact on the community. When shopkeepers have to clean up, use condoms, vomit and urine in their shop fronts, then people get very upset about it. When kids on their way to school see that, then they are annoyed. And the Prostitution Reform Act 2003 didn't solve the problem. In most areas, people got work in brothels, but we have a certain class of people who, I think, really people who make life for others so bad. Now, this bill is supported by the 2 chief mayoral contestants for the Super City. Now, they are Len Brown and, of course, John Banks. And here they are soliciting themselves on the front cover of Metro magazine, soliciting for votes, of course, which is far different than anything else. And I've got to say,
Point of order, Paul Quinn.
Mr Speaker, it's well known in this House that using visual aids is only acceptable by the Speaker and no one else. And the previous Assistant Speaker was joining in holding up displays which I think you saw.
Speaking to the point of order.
Mr Speaker, I know that the member is a new member.
Order, that is not helpful.
But the reality is, sir, that during the course of a speech, I'm trying to inform the member, that during the course of a speech, a member is entitled to actually display. And that was, in fact, what was happening. And it was only for a very small time, Mr Speaker.
Yeah, well, I think the point has been made, and we do know the rules, so I'd ask George Hawkins to continue.
Thank you. And can I thank the member opposite for his real concern, and soliciting is something that I'm sure that he does around election time himself. but he won't do it very successfully next time. In fact, he might be further down their list. Now, what is happening, in fact, when Manukau really introduced their bill, the first bill, they thought that they'd make some real progress. And to be sure, the first reading attracted around about 100 votes in this House. And of course, then it went off to the Select Committee. Now, it came back from the Select Committee, and the committee was divided on the matter, but in the end, they decided not to proceed with this bill. So Manukau's had the added problem of trying to find a way around the problem. Now, they've used all the things that you would expect a council to use. They've used better street lighting. They've used CCTV cameras. They've used Mary wardens, ambassadors, and of course the police have been directed to look at the problem. But prostitution is just one of many social problems that are impacting on South Auckland. I have another bill on the order paper, the Sale of Liquor Objections to Applications Amendment Bill, and it's waiting for its second reading. And that deals with another aspect of the social deprivation that's happening. There are also pokie machines. But the one that really annoys most people is the street prostitution that goes on. Yes, we have a lot of people who are very upset that there is a mix of alcohol and street prostitution going on at the same time. Now, last time I said it was a plea from Manukau for help. This also is a plea for help from Manukau City. This bill may have the unusual feature of actually lasting longer than Manukau City. Manukau City won't exist on the 1st of November, and of course this bill would hopefully be picked up by the new super city. That remains to be seen. We have had people like Councillor Quacks who's been pushing to get this matter dealt with for a long time. But there are some councillors who identify the problem, make a lot of noise about it, but nothing happens. And I'm just referring to Colleen Brown, who has written articles featuring in Stuff newspaper when she talks about a young girl, let's call her Holly, stands in half-light of a liquor store, etc. And goes on to describe Holly as a 14-year-old on the streets. Now, I challenge every member of this House to get up and say whether being a 14-year-old on the streets is acceptable. The trouble with this, of course, is it's made up by Colleen Brown, who doesn't do anything other than make up stories. Wring her hands. And I think, yes, she wrings her hands, and I think this is something that needs far more support. It needs the support of this Parliament so that Manukau can get something done. You know, when people talk about liquor being an associate of prostitution, people really know. We have marches going around South Auckland protesting about liquor. But the chairman of the Wiri Licensing Trust, she actually goes on these marches. She's selling booze and protesting about the sale. And so in South Auckland there is real conflict where people are getting confused messages. Can I say that this needs a forceful answer? It needs people to stand up and be accountable. Not to make up stories, not to go and try and sell booze and say you're against it and against prostitution. We need people of much sterner stuff. And it is unfortunate that this bill has come into the House at this late stage. But it does take a lot of time and a lot of work by